man. I love the idea, just the phrase, what if? What if? And this isn't the negative what if. What if things are going to fall apart? What if everything blows up? What if, oh my God. No, this is the what if of like, what could happen? What if God is calling me to greater things? What if God wants to use me in ways that I never dreamed that he could? What if I'm not crazy? What if the voice of God that's been speaking to my soul is actually speaking to my soul and asking me to do some crazy things, like with Cheney giving that $100 to a homeless person? There's so many reasons why that's not a good thing to do, but God told her to do it in that moment. She was obedient. And she was obedient just to God and no one else. And God made a way. What if God is speaking to you today? And what if you're just not tuned into him yet? And what if you are, but you're just too scared to step out on what he has for you? We're going to be following the life of a guy named Abraham. Starts out as Abram. We're going to watch his life as he progresses. And this dream comes alive. And we see him save the world. Because God says in Genesis 17, through you, I'm going to save the world. And it's kind of cool because through his seed comes Jesus. But this is just a dream. And we don't even know, he had no idea God was going to use him. He was just a normal guy, just like any one of us. And one day God comes to him and whispers to him. So let's go. Let's see what God does. Before I was a Christian, I was like a hardcore atheist. I was like a hardcore, like as far over here as I am now, like I was over on that side back then. And man, we would vandalize stuff. One night, me and my friend, now I'm talking 8th grade, by the way, we got my friend's grandpa's liquor cabinet, and we would drink his alcohol, replace it with water, and then we went to the brown ones, and we replaced it with tea, and then we went to, and it was like, we're running out of colored liquids here. We're running out of alcohol. One day he's going to know this is water. And we would walk around town drunk and do all kinds of stuff. Luckily, we never got caught. But we had vandalized things. One night we stole a pickup, and I was bleeding all over because I punched out a window, vandalizing stuff, and we were swerving all over the highway. We could have died so many times. And I remember at the height, the zenith of this time when I was just a wayward son, far away from God, I remember we threw this big party at my parents' house while my parents were out of town, taking my brother to Phoenix to school. And man, people were going nuts, and it was crazy. It was like the party, of the fall semester. And I remember though, as soon as the beer was gone and people got in fights in the yard, and all of a sudden the cars just kind of started just taking off. And I remember I was sitting there. I don't know if you've ever done this. I was sitting there, drunk out of my mind, sitting on the couch, kind of on the arm of the couch, and I'm eating peanut butter out of a jar with my finger. And I'm thinking, there's got to be more to life than this. I don't know, have you ever thought that? There's got to be more to life than this? Have you ever sat drunk on the edge of a couch with peanut butter in your finger, the whole thing?
Yeah.
Got to be more? Nobody else? That must be, okay, that's just me then.
I get it.
Have you ever had the thought, though, man, there's got to be more to life than this. This feels empty. This feels meaningless. The stuff I'm doing just doesn't seem like it means anything anymore. And that's exactly where I was. So I'm asking you tonight, what if there's more to this life than what you're living now? If you're not a believer, I can tell you there's more to this life than you're living now. But even if you are a believer, what if there's more to this life than you're living now? What if there's more? And you've kind of fallen out of that love with God. Do you dare hope for better? Or do you just kind of take it and be like, oh, okay, that's all I can have? Near the beginning of human history, the people turn their backs on God. This happens over and over and over. But we'll start with this time after the flood of Noah, whenever people began to rebuild, and they built this structure called the Tower of Babel. You guys remember the Tower of Babel? This was a structure trying to build their way up into heaven, the heavens, to try to get to heaven without God. Like, we don't need God. We are God. We don't need anybody telling us what to do. We're the best. We're what it takes. We have everything that we need. We don't need this God. In fact, this God has his rules, and he's a little bit pesky. I don't really like messing with this God. It was a way to try to get to heaven without God. And they don't like the one true God. They find him constricting. They don't like his ways. They put themselves on this throne instead and become the ultimate kings. And even back then, like in the days later when pharaohs would become gods, and in Babylon the king would be God, and even Caesar would become God. This was a thing people did. They would They would make their kings gods. They thought so highly of themselves. They thought we were the ones ruling everything. And this is what we call idolatry. Someone say idolatry.
Idolatry.
Idolatry is what? Idol worship. And idol worship is this. It's very simply this. It doesn't have to be some crazy thing with like pagan people cutting themselves and all that kind of stuff. All it is putting anything above God, putting anything in the place of God, anything on the throne of God, putting your ways in front of God's ways, putting yourself in front of God's ways, putting your family in front of God, putting your girlfriend or your boyfriend in front of God, putting anything in front of God. I mean, football, it could be the Cowboys, on Sunday. It could be, people don't, they leave church early to go to the Cowboys. That, to me, is an idol. I saw a whole group of kids, and they're little kids in their baseball uniforms, and they're all at I'm getting ready to go to church where we're getting some eggs, at Abram's, and they're all there, and they're all getting ready to go back out to like game number 2 or 3 of the day. And I wanted to grab these parents and say, do you know what you're doing to your children? Do you know what you're doing to our society? When we have put club sports above church and above God, we have made idols out of sports. Well, you understand, Mike. I mean, if we miss this intramural game, we're gonna. Oh, sorry, that was too far. I mean, if we in the Little League, sorry, we'll keep it with Little League. If we miss this Little League game, my son won't be able to be promoted, and then when he gets to junior high, he won't get first string, and when he gets to high school, he won't be able to get first string or second string, and then when he gets to college, he may or may not make it on the team, and then guys, only one. How are you going to make it to the NFL? Is that the goal, is to get to the NFL? Like, really? From this club? You're going to put this idol above God. It's just crazy to me. Someone say, oh, better step off, preacher. Better get off that horse, preacher. Somebody else say, shake that bush, preacher.
Shake that bush.
Shake that bush. There's more fruit up in there. You shake that and that fruit come out.
Do it.
So you can say whatever you want. You can say, if you like it, just say, shake that bush, preacher. If you don't like it, just say, get off that horse, preacher.
Just like football.
The people of Babel were into idol worship, and I don't got time to go into the gross things that these people would do, the gross sin of these people, but a lot of it had to do with killing innocent life. A lot of it had to do with worshiping nature above God and above humanity. It also had a lot to do with killing babies and stuff like that. That's a lot. There's so much that goes into it. I don't got time to go into all the pagan practices, the things that God hates. But the number one thing was cosmic plagiarism, which is putting anything above God. The Bible says that you shall have no gods before me. Generations later, near modern, so God comes in and he creates confusion. They don't know how to speak the same language anymore. And they ban this project called the Tower of Babel. But in the same place, near modern day Baghdad, one of the first known civilizations rises up from a city in that same place called Ur. Someone say Ur. Ur? Yes, Ur came from that same location. And these people, they eventually turned into the Babylonians. But long before that, Ur was the New York City of 4,000 years ago. It's the world's hub of culture, power, art, and wealth. It's one of the oldest cities that we've ever discovered. For our context today, Ur is a place of unbelief. It's a place of unbelief. Ur on one side, Zion on the other side. The city of God, so to speak, is Zion. So in picture form, Jerusalem or Zion would be on one side. Ur would be the opposite, the city of sin, the city of where I came from. The place of unbelief. Instead of following the one true God, they said, nah. And kind of like shopping on Amazon, they said, these gods over here, they do a little bit more for us. We can do what we want. We don't have to worry about not getting drunk. And have you heard of temple prostitutes? I mean, this is a way I can cheat on my wife without actually cheating on my wife. Like, I'm doing it for God. I'm having sex with a temple prostitute. You don't know about that. That's pagan practice. Hey, I'll sign up for those gods. This God, Zion God, this one true God, he says, don't do this, don't do that. He restricts me, he holds me back. Forget that God. He's going to limit my life. Carpe diem. These gods are like, hey, and if I don't like this God, I can move to this God. And if I don't like that one, I can go to this one. And then I can get them to fight each other. And then, and they're crazy. I mean, if you ever looked at like the Greek gods, I mean, that's pretty much same gods, different names, older, And so, yeah, we're going to trade in this God for all these other gods. Why have one God when I can have 10? Right? That sounds like a good deal. Click, sign me up. Amazon.com. Give me those gods instead. And this is what it says in Romans 1:21. This is how it happened. Because although they knew God, they knew who God was. They were just a few generations removed from Noah. They knew the one true God, but they did not glorify him as God, nor were they thankful. They became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, this might sound like college, professing to be wise, they became fools. Have you ever noticed that common sense is anything but common these days? I see some people arguing, I'm like, wow, whoa, man.
George.
You're an idiot. I'm so sorry. Jesus loves you, but you're an idiot. Professing to become wise, they became fools, and they exchanged the glory of God, the incorruptible God, into idols, into the image made like corruptible man. So a statue or of a bird or a four-footed animal or a creeping thing. They would bow down to cows. To cows, guys. Cows, like the animals. Or birds. They would bow down. Oh, you are our God. It's like, are you an idiot? This is God Almighty, maker of heavens and the earth, the one who created nebulas and the universe and stars that burn in glory. And you're going to bow down to a cow? Are you crazy? Does anybody? Nobody. Oh, professing to become wise, they became fools. This is crazy to me. Thank you. I will. The philosophy of might sound familiar. It says, why should I chain myself to one God when I can have many? Or the gods of say, do what makes you happy. Just be happy. That's the main concern, is being happy. Why wait for pleasure of any kind? You're only young once, YOLO. Or as the Latin would say, carpe diem. Live life to the fullest, don't miss one moment. And how you do it is through the flesh, not through God. Restriction is evil. In fact, people on that side would say, Mikey, the whole abstinence thing, that is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. That's just stupid. Well, sorry, that's what God said. So if you want to call God stupid, that's cool. Professing to be wise, they became fools. Number 2, so it's a place of unbelief. The second thing about is a place where they don't know how to say no to themselves. This sounds more like us, doesn't it? In Relevant Magazine, a recent article said the statistics show that we are not much different than the world around us, because 80% of young unmarried Christians are having sex unmarried. 80%. 76% believe that it's wrong, but 80% are doing it. So there's not much difference. We don't know how to say no to ourselves. That's among Christians. Number 3, is the place of comfort and security, and they reign as gods. Comfort and security. What do we give up for comfort and security? Just think of the Patriot Act. What do we do? What do we give up so that we can feel safe? And there is a little bit that needs to happen, but is this place where we've given up so much so that we can be comfortable, so we can have security, and it reigns as a God in our life. Is where the city never sleeps. It is like the place that's bumping all the time. Fun and entertainment are on tap. Convenience is Er's middle name. It's called Convenience. Yeah, and it doesn't have a last name. So the newest technology is in Like, you want to know what's coming up new? Hey, there's this thing called written language. It's crazy. What? What's written language? Dude, go to you'll find out. Have you seen this substance called bronze? This is tough stuff. It's great. You would go to to find bronze in the Bronze Age. And so behind these walls of man, we don't ever have a dull moment. We can fill our time with anything, and we just keep it moving, just keep it spinning, just keep going. So you never have to feel sad, so you never have to feel bored, so you never have to feel lonely, so you never have to feel anything bad. We just keep it moving, and keeps going, and it never sleeps. And behind these walls of that protects us so well, we insulate ourselves so that we never have to do anything we don't want to do. And every time someone hurts us, we build another layer of brick around this wall of and we think it's protecting us, but it's becoming a prison. And to try to keep from getting hurt again, we make these inner vows, and we say, I'll never let someone hurt me again. I'll never, ... Man, I will not, ... I will not. I don't like big crowds. I don't want to meet new people because they might, if I let them in, they might hurt me. I don't like leaving because in I'm in control, and I hold the cards, and I pull all the strings. I am the one in charge, and no one can get to me, and no one can hurt me. I'm insulated in is comfortable because you're protected within its walls. You can understand why that's so alluring. But becomes a prison. They had everything they could want. And they shouldn't complain about anything. They have all the food, all the drink there. They got all the security that they need. They have army to protect them. Everything is great. And they should just be fine and just click their way down the road and just go down that river until the sweet by and by. And it's in that this man named Abram comes into our story. And like me, Abram was sitting on his couch one day, on the arm of his couch, eating peanut butter out of a jar with his finger, thinking there's got to be more to life. There's got to be more to life than this. Solomon called it grasping for wind. When we try to fulfill ourselves with anything besides God and his ways, we are grasping for wind. Ecclesiastes is this very depressing book. Have you ever read it? It's so depressing. And this is what a king who had it all said at the very end of his life. It all sucks. Pretty much what Ecclesiastes is. It's very sad. Ecclesiastes 2:1 said, I said to myself, come on now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good. But that also provided to be meaningless. The sun rises up and then it goes down. The wind blows to the south, turns around and blows north. The eye is not satisfied with anything it sees. If you've ever looked at pornography, you know what that means. The ear is never filled with hearing, if you understand gossip. That just always happens. That which has been, is, will be, and that which is done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. I will create big things, maybe that will make me happy. I'll make all these big things. I'll build houses and vineyards, and or maybe if I just get more money, maybe that would be it. Maybe if I'm not having to always go paycheck to paycheck, maybe if I'm just comfortable, then I'll be happy. But that doesn't do it. So maybe I'm missing the arts. That's what it is. So he goes and he gets female singers and male singers, and he gets all the instruments of every kind of nation around, and he can't seem to get happy. And then you get to chapter 2, verse 10, I denied myself nothing of anything my eyes desired. I gave myself anything. And here's a king who could have it all. I denied myself nothing that my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all this labor, and it was a reward for my toil. Yet I surveyed all that my hands had done, and what I had toiled to achieve. At the end of my life, I looked back, and everything was meaningless. Chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. I tried. I had it all, and it didn't matter. So the place of comfort, the place of freedom from this unfun God over here in Zion. The place where the party was always bumping all the time. You couldn't be bored in became the place of meaningless and a prison of cynicism. A prison of cynicism. I don't know if you've ever been around a cynical person. A cynic. They're not very fun to be around. A prison of cynicism where we've seen it all, and what's the point? The definition of cynicism is this. Check this out. The definition of cynicism is this. An attitude of jaded negativity, especially a general distrust of the motives of other people. So we have this jaded negativity. Isn't that just fun to be around those people? And especially, they have a general distrust. It don't matter who it is, but you distrust their motives. It's a prison of cynicism. In fact, the final blow of is cynicism. What is cynicism? Mikey's definition? Cynicism is the death of hope. Cynicism is the death of hope. Hope says it's going to get better. Hope says, man, I know it's been impossible this many times, but I think if we hit it one more time, we can do this. I know that God has a plan. I know it might seem bad right now, but if we just keep walking, if we just stay faithful, God's got a plan. And cynicism, on the other hand, says, man, I've tried that. I've been to the altar. I tried to get rid of those addictions. I tried to let it go. I tried to forgive that person. I couldn't do it. It didn't matter. It's all meaningless. This is all just a sham. The worship songs, everybody claps, and then they're just whatever. And then after they do 2 fast songs and 2 slow songs, and then they do an offering after the 3rd song, and then they do this and they do that, and then they go on a retreat, and then they do that, and it's just meaningless. What's the point? Cynicism is the death of hope. Cynicism is the death of hope, but hope says every time something good happens, from glory to glory, we're transformed into the image of Christ. You might not see all the good happening, but every time you come in here, something changes just a little bit. Cynics are passive. They don't have to do anything. They can sit there and be like, that's dumb. Faith, on the other hand, is active. Miracles happen to those with faith. The Bible says all things are possible to those who, what? Believe. Cynics sit back and criticize and critique those who have hope. Nothing impresses a cynic. They're not easily impressed at all. Cynical people adopt the saying, if at first you do not succeed, hide all the evidence that you ever tried. Are you guys with me?
Yes.
Yep.
Cynic says, if at first you don't succeed, just pretend like you never tried. Hide all the evidence. They've lost the what-if factor. They've lost the what-if mentality. They've lost the awe. They've lost the wonder of life. Rabbi Zacharias wrote in an article recently that the average child gasps in wonder 12 times a day. Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. So when did you stop dreaming?
Yes.
When did you lose your wonder? When did hope die inside of you? When did you become a cynic? See, is a place of hopelessness. A place where we sit there eating our peanut butter out of a jar with our fingers saying, there's got to be more to life than this. And if there's not, then I don't want to keep living. I got no reason to live. I've got no reason to live. When did you stop dreaming? There's got to be more to life than this. Guys, I'm just going to say, you might feel like you're more smart staying in but is like one of the stupidest places that you can stay. Are you crazy for putting yourself out there, for believing, for having hope again? Maybe, but I think you're more crazy by staying in Amen?
Amen.
It's so much like this, one of my favorite things ever.
Yes.
Go ahead and play it.
With that?
Wait a minute. This feels all wrong. Just because they're doing it doesn't mean I have to. Why eat a hamburger made from frozen beef? It'll be all dry instead of fresh and juicy. Frozen hamburger? This is ridiculous. I deserve a hot, juicy burger. That's right, you heard me. I deserve a hot, juicy burger. Not because I can tear a phone book with my bare hands, no. I deserve a hot, juicy burger because I have a mouth. And it wants one. So do you. And so do you. Hot, juicy burger. 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 Come on, church. Hot, juicy burger. Hot, juicy burger. You're not feeling it now. Hot, juicy burger. You deserve one. You get a juicy burger. You get a juicy burger. You get a juicy burger. Check that book.
Because I've got a mouth. And it wants one. Guys, I can't tell you how much I literally teared up watching this the first time. I'm like, this is the world. They're just, no, there's nothing new under the sun. Meaningless, meaningless. Everything's meaningless. Nothing matters. Nothing's going to get better. Oh, you're getting your hot, juicy burger? Whatever. You'll figure it out soon enough. Life sucks. And I'm like, no! I need a hot, juicy burger. Because I've got a mouth. And it wants one. And I know that there's more to life than kicking trees. Amen? There's more to life than what is giving you. And it promises so much. And it says, no, you got to stay trapped in this little prison. You got to stay in this place of hopelessness. Let's talk about the walls of this prison for just a moment. Each one of these 4 walls are a wall that keep us trapped in. Someone said, oh no, Mikey. Oh no, Mikey, what have you done? Now, you're gonna argue with this first wall. You're gonna say, oh, that's not me, that's everyone else in this room. So that's fine, that's fine. Just keep looking forward. Or just say, look to your neighbor right now on your left and say, that's you he's about to talk about. Now look at your right and say, oh, I know it's you. There are walls to this prison. There are walls to this prison. This is the first wall. You guys ready? It's about to blow your mind. You ready? Social media. Altar call. Do you find yourself checking how many people liked it or how many hits you got? That used to mean that you're just getting high back in my day, but how many hits you received? Sorry, bad joke. That was my old days in Earth. Modern research shows that the longest a college-age person cannot look at their phone, look up here, is 6.5 minutes. 6.5 minutes is the average amount of time that you're just, I mean, you would be studying and you'll be like, right? Anybody do that? Anybody do that? And you'll be sitting there like just talking with people and your hand just automatically just kind of goes down there.
Oh no. Sometimes you look at it and you don't even remember why. You're like,
before you even get it down to the bottom of your pocket, you're back out again. Looking at it again. Do I talk about this enough? I don't know. I really think, you know, that a big reason for divorces in America today is because people are so, not only pornography, but they're so distracted by their phones, they don't look at each other anymore. Social media. And your phone becomes a chain that will not let you go. And like any addict, I know it's not your problem. You say you can quit at any time, but you're trapped in error if you can't let it go for more than 6.5 minutes. Time yourself. Time yourself. Number 2, the second wall across the prison yard is the wall of FOMO. It says FOMO across it. Fear of missing out. FOMO. Who's got FOMO? Come on. Raise that hand high. Who's got FOMO? You're so afraid of missing out. You're the guy that whenever you're supposed to RSVP to the trip, you say, put me down as a definite maybe. Put me down as a definite maybe. No, like, are you going on the trip? I don't know, I can't commit to not going. I can't commit to going. Just put me down as a definite maybe. And instead of living a life to the fullest because you're always looking at if there's a better option, all the options pass by, and because you're so afraid of missing a good option, you never make a step, and so you stay in error. Someone say, oh no. Oh. Fear of missing out. Think about it. Where's the emphasis? Fear. Fear. You're living your life according to fear. You're afraid you're going to miss out, and so you stay in error, never going on the wild adventure to Zion. Number 3, expectations. This is the third wall. If I can't be the best at whatever, fill in the blank, I'm not even going to try. Smash Brothers. Guys will walk up to the top of the stairs. They'll look inside the room. They'll see who's in there. Oh, heck no, I'm not playing that game. I'm not going to play against Turok. I'm not playing against Trey Andrews. They're too good, and if I can't be the best, then I'm not even playing. We live our lives this way. Get upset when somebody beats you at that game. You know? Instead of playing the game. I play Age of Empires. I have not won one time. I play it all the time. It's not about winning. It's about playing the dang game. Oh, yeah? My coach told me if you ain't first, you're last. All right. Stay in her, buddy. Stay in her. Fourth wall. And this is the one I think that's the most. This is the tallest wall.
Okay.
This is the hardest wall.
Okay.
This is the biggest wall that you will face. You want me to say it? Yeah. Let's go ahead and just stop right there. I think there's been enough. I think there's been. Shake that horse? Did you say shake that horse? I would, but Peter would get on to me. Okay, so the tallest wall in this prison of is inhibitions. Things that inhibit you. This prison, and guys, this one hits close to home. It's full. This prison yard is full of I used to's and I can'ts. I used to laugh more. I can't sing. Because one time I was like, man, I was really singing, and someone's like, you can't sing. And so anytime I come to a public worship thing, I don't sing. Because if I do, I gotta, insulate myself in earth. Remember? I used to dance, but something happened one time, and so I stopped. I decided I didn't want to feel dumb anymore. We were dancing. I thought we were having a good time, and then the circle just closed, right? You've been there, right? You're like, oh, okay. I'll just go to the cookie table. All right. There's the exit. All right. Right? Anybody ever have that happen to you? Yes. Anybody ever have that happen to you? Yeah. Yeah. And because of that, because they closed the circle, you stop dancing. Same thing can happen with friendship groups. Just consider your friendship group like a dance. And somehow they didn't invite you. The circle closed, and you found your way to the exit. I used to dance. I used to laugh more. I used to sing. And now it's to a place where I'm so subconscious that if someone raises their eyebrow after a certain statement, that brings a whole mountain of interpretations. And this leads to mild or even extreme self-consciousness. Someone said you look goofy when you run, so you don't run anymore, you just walk wherever you go. And someone made fun of that sweater you wore, and so you never wore that again. Tries to beat the hope out of you. But our God is a God of hope. A God of hope. The Bible is threaded together with hope. Even when things are the darkest, the nights are darkest. There's so many times whenever God says, about this time tomorrow, things are going to look up. Whenever Naaman is dipping in the Jordan River, he's supposed to go dip in the Jordan River to get rid of his leprosy. And they bring him down once, nothing happens. 2 times, nothing happens. 3 times. He goes 6 times, and nothing's changing. It's not changing at all. It's all the same as it was before. And he's like, you know what? I imagine he might have said to himself, you know what? I don't want to go that 7th time because I don't want to give it the chance to reject me. I don't want to give it the opportunity to reject me. I want to just say, you know what? I had my 6th time, and I chose not to do the 7th time so that I can be in control, so I can stay insulated, so I can stay in earth. And the prophet Elisha says, dip one more time. Dip one more time. Dip 7 times. You might have dipped 6 times and nothing happened. I'm telling you, dip one more time. There's hope. Something's going to happen. Something's going to change. You just got to go to the end. Follow through to the end. Dip one more time. It goes down the 7th time. It comes up and he is completely healed. The guy is completely healed. But if he would have stopped at 6, he would have never saw it. If he would have listened to the cynics, he would have sat down. But he stood up and he listened to the hope of God and he got himself out of her. It's like, I'm walking out. I'm walking out. I'm going to Zion. I'm going somewhere else. I'm leaving her. Someone say, I'm leaving her. I'm leaving her. I'm not leaving her. I'm leaving her. Someone say, I'm leaving her. I'm leaving her. The times when it's the darkest, This is the moment when the light shines the brightest, when God's hope shines the brightest, and you've got to hold on to the hope of God. Once you let go of hope, you extinguish. Once you let go of hope, there's no reason. It becomes meaningless. You turn into Solomon and you just die. Without hope, there is no life. God is a God of hope. And this is what it says in Zechariah. He was talking about, there was this time in Zechariah 9, the situation looks hopeless, and the enemy is coming in like a flood, and God gives his people this whisper. It's just a whisper through the prophet Zechariah, and he says this, I will set your prisoners free. Return, this is what he calls them, return you prisoners of hope. He says, hope isn't just a thing. You're so chained to hope. God is so chained to hope that if you want to be with God, you're going to be basically a prisoner of hope. You're going to be so wrapped up in hope that there's no way out of it. Like, that's what keeps you going. You are a prisoner of hope. You're going to either be a prisoner of or you're going to be a prisoner of hope. And I would rather be a prisoner of hope. We are hopelessly bound to hope. Because believers are supposed to believe, right? So here Abram is. And he's kicking trees his whole life. Just kicking. And suddenly, this realization that there must be something more to life overwhelms him. And this is what it says. God comes to him in a whisper and says, now the Lord said to Abram, get out of your country. From your family and your comfort and all the things you've known your entire life, from your father's house and your old family systems that are all about idol worship and all this crazy stuff that keeps you locked in this. I want you to leave that place. I want you to walk out of that prison, because guess what? This prison has no doors. All you got to do is choose to walk out. But what's the doors on the prison is your own mind. Your mind keeps you in this prison because you believe you can't leave. You stay in that prison forever. He says, now the Lord said to Abram, get out of your country, that old friend group, from your family and from your father's house, and go to a land that you don't know yet. Yeah, now you don't know it, but if you trust me, I'll lead you through every step of the way. I'll take you there. And he has this choice. Abram has this choice. He's hearing this invisible God, this whisper in his soul, telling him to leave everything that's very tangible and very real. Family, friends, systems, ways of life. He's an older guy by now. He's like, I forgot to look at how old he was. I think he's pretty old, 40 or something more. Maybe 80, I can't remember. But he's old. He's already lived his life. It's time to settle down. What am I doing? Leaving and starting an adventure. On an adventure. And he has this choice to chance it all, to cash it all in on this whisper of hope, or to stay in this prison and fade into time. And he chooses to get busy living, and he leaves Ur. So there's some cards underneath your chairs tonight, and some pens. And I'm just curious, as we play this song, on that paper it says, I used to, about 4 or 5 times. And I'm not talking about the things you used to do that were bad and now you do good things. I want you to think through, I want you to scour your brain, your mind. I want you to look through and say, what are the things that I used to do, that I stopped doing because somebody said something, because it didn't turn out so good, because I built a prison around my heart, a shell around my heart, so that I wouldn't be hurt anymore, and I stopped doing the very thing I wanted to do, that I want to do. I'm so inhibited, I'm so self-conscious, I can't move, I can't do anything without thinking about who's looking at me. I can't get out of this prison. I used to be what? Is there anything that you used to do, that you used to think, that you don't anymore because somehow got a hold of you and trapped you? Go ahead and write it down. I want you to think about the situation. I want you to think about what happened. This is the land of Ur, a place where we replaced his voice with our own. We tried to be God. It's a place where we didn't know how to say no to ourselves and we just kept on trying to find meaning in things outside of his will. It's a place where we crowded him out of our schedules trying to find meaning. We insulated ourselves from being hurt, so we stopped taking chances. We used these inner vows to protect us, but what it did is it's like wrapping yourself in plastic and it's suffocating you. We got locked up in this prison of cynicism. That's you. Tonight's your night. You stopped hoping. Now I know it's impossible to leave her. I know it's impossible. It's impossible to break that addiction. It's impossible to find that healing. It's impossible. I know. And we have many reasons why we can't. And I get that. But what if we could? What if we could? What if we could leave her? What if it could be different this time? What if we left her?